football wasn't designed for people like me. At least that's what I was told. There's no space for people of my background. Muslim, hijab-wearing women, black women, and at a point, any woman at all. So how did I get here? How am I now working full-time in football? I guess for me, it all started at 8 years old, running around in the playground, chasing a football. And really, I fell in love with the game the same way that anybody else did, by playing it, constantly. At 14, I signed for my first ever team, and I finally felt like I was on to pursue my dreams, being a footballer. So obviously having conversations now with my new manager, my new team, we spoke about logistics, and eventually we got to the issue of kit. Now obviously as a Muslim woman, I didn't feel comfortable just wearing shorts and a t-shirt. So I brought this up to the coach and I asked for alternatives. And he started panicking, well, I was like, it's fine, to have a breather, it's okay. And the response that he gave me really did stick with me, I think, to this day. And he turned around and he said, I'm so sorry, I've never had a Muslim player in my team before. Now don't get me wrong, I knew I was different from my teammates, and that's not inherently a bad thing. The majority of them obviously were white British girls, but for me that day, I felt like there was something that I couldn't quite place. And it is something that happened to me a lot more as I grew older. And I later realized that was the feeling of becoming the other, being that outlier, the anomaly in the group. And I never quite forgot how that felt. Later on, I was at a trial, and I felt like I was really overlooked by the coach. I was just ignored, pushed to the side. I didn't really feel like I had a fair shot to show what I was capable of. Now, obviously, I didn't end up making the team in the end, and I made a promise that day. I was upset, I was disgruntled. I sat down and I made a promise. And I said, one day, when I'm in my 30s and I've got money and I'm rich, I'm gonna start something. I'm gonna start an academy, I'm gonna start a team, I'm gonna start something for girls like me to make sure that they're never overlooked, to give them a chance to play football. Now the first problem was, I don't know why I decided I'd have money in my 30s. I think there's a rude awakening coming for her. But yeah, that was box one to tick. But really and truly, I never wanted another girl to feel the way I felt that day. Excluded, ignored, othered. At university, we did a charity football tournament and 5 teams entered. And when the day came, I was really surprised that the majority of the girls were of a similar background to myself. And this is an environment I've never really been in before. And as we got to talking, we realized that a lot of us had similar struggles, similar issues growing up playing football. Unsupportive coaches, referees asking if it's safe to wear that hijab on your head when you play, racism, Islamophobia from spectators, from opponents, no representation, no community, and no encouragement. And all of us were going through life, going through those phases, feeling like we were the only ones, but really we weren't. Now the tournament ended, and a lot of the girls came to me and asked when we'd be doing something like this again. When are we gonna have more sessions, more tournaments, more environments like this? And it got a cog turning in my head. And I remember that promise I made to myself. And I said, you know what, why wait? Why not do it now? If I don't go and create that space for women like me, who would? And if I delay it, how many will miss out in the meantime? So I took a leap, and I started trying to do my best to learn everything I could about how to run football sessions. And at 19 years old, I ran my first ever session, and 13 people turned up, 13. And then the next week, 18. And then the week after that, 23. Now the 4th week, I was running a little late, I was coming back from work, so I asked a friend of mine, can you just go and warm them up, make sure they're ready by the time I get there. So I get off the train, and in true London fashion, middle of July, it is pouring down with rain, like that kind of rain that you can't even see through. So I come off the train, come around the corner, I've got into the pitch, and I see no less than 40 women on this pitch waiting for me to train them. There were sisters, there was cousins, even a mother and her daughter. And that's the day I realized there really was no turning back for me. This is the only thing I want to do. This is the only thing I could do. I want to be able to create those safe spaces for women in football. So that's what I did. I spent the next 6 years working, doing my best to try and make changes in football. And sometimes it feels like we really did take big steps in the right direction. And sometimes, maybe not. Just a few months ago, I signed for a new team, and I made my debut, or I wanted to make my debut. And when I got to the game, the referee stopped me and said, "You can't play like that." I said, "What do you mean?" Now, obviously, as a Muslim woman, I'm not comfortable wearing shorts as I play, so I wear tracksuit bottoms instead. And for me, that is so that I can maintain my religious beliefs and do my best to maintain my modesty. But the referee refused for me to play that day unless I wore shorts. And I'll be honest, I was reduced to tears. I was really upset, and it was crazy to me that even after all this time, I was back to being that little girl that was the other again. But it's different this time, very different, because this time I had a voice, this loud, roaring, ground-shaking voice to speak up. And it's really weird to say out loud, but I was relieved that it was me. I was relieved that it happened to me, because I was going to make sure it never happened ever again to anybody else. So I spoke up, and to this day I'm now working with the FA to make sure that that rule gets officially changed so that women and girls like me can wear tracksuit bottoms if need be for their religious beliefs, so that they shouldn't have to choose between their hobbies and their beliefs. So what's the lesson in all this? For me, it's that there's no time limit on change. The world needs our voices, our ideas, and our perspectives. A lot of things are the way they are because we're not brave enough, or we haven't been brave enough to ask the questions. Why are things the way that they are? Who does this benefit? So for me, I feel like I've done my best, and I'll continue to do my best to advocate for women and girls and make sure that they have a safe space in football. But really what I'm here today to do is to ask you to do the same. Be the difference. Kick down the doors that were previously shut in our faces so that the ones behind you can follow. And if they won't give you a seat at the table, you make your own. Now, I didn't end up making it as a footballer, but more than anything, I hope that I made my younger self proud. And now, finally, I've always wanted to say this. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.